Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandan Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Koranita Mayapur Sasi Jaya Koranita Jaya Mayapur Sasi Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Mai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Shri Prabhupada ki jai Samveta Bhakta ki jai Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari
Amen.
Hare Krishna. Thanks for joining today. So let me share my screen, and from there we will continue our discussion. Īśopaniṣad, and we discussed a bit on this chapter. Let's continue. So let's start to chant this verse once again before you move ahead. Please repeat after me. Om Purnam
Om Purnam
Purnam
Adha Purnam Idam
Ada Purnam
Yadam
Purnat Purnam Uchayate
Purna
Purnam Uchayate
Purnasya Purnam Adaya
Purnasha Purnam
Purnam Adaya
Purnam Eva Vasishyate.
Purnam Evaya
Vasishyate.
Translation: the personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanation from him such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance, right? He is completely complete. That's the essence, right? So we discussed these two first paragraphs where Prabhupada explains about three aspects of God realization. That is, first is impersonal Brahman, then Paramatma. We took an example of a sweet gulab jamun, and also we took an example of sun god, and then we understood about what these things are. So three aspects of understanding supreme personality of Godhead: one is Brahman, and second is Paramatma, and third is Bhagwan himself. So Brahman, first aspect is here Prabhupada mentioned about Sachidananda. So first aspect is Sach, he is eternal, and second aspect is Chid, he is complete knowledge, and third is Ananda, is blissful. So step by step realization, and Brahman are mostly realized by the Jnanis, Paramatma next level by the yogis, and the third is Bhagavan, which is by the bhaktas. So when yogis they realize Paramatma, they realize Brahman as well as Paramatma. And when Bhakta realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, absolute complete, they realize all three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and the complete Bhagavan itself. Right. So that we discussed. And here we'll just recap. Prabhupada says this, but realization of personality of Godhead is a realization of all the transcendental features, Sat, Chit, and Anand. So such realization, first level realization, second level of Brahman and Paramatma, that is truth, but not complete. So something beyond there. And when we realize everything, the three aspects, Sachit and Anand, is all realization. So like sun rays, sun god, and the sun globe itself, right? Both are interlinked. We cannot say that sun rays come out of blue. They are coming actually from the sun itself, right? So they are linked with the sun. And Krishna explains that in Bhagavad Gita as well, that Krishna is the basis of the Brahman intelligence, and he is a Paramatma who expands himself in every living entity, every atom, while creation of the material world. So there is both the Brahman and Paramatma, they are linked with Krishna himself, right? They are not independent. And then we discussed about Vigraha, that he is a complete whole. He is not formless. He has a complete, beautiful form. He is not like, no, there is, I can't measure on something. It's not like that. He is completely a person as like we, but he is Sachidananda. And then we discussed we talked a bit about the second verse as well, how Lord creates this phenomena and the 24 elements of this material universe. We can go back again to these elements again. Let's continue from this third paragraph, and then if needed we can come back. Okay, let's see. Third paragraph. All facilities are given to small complete units, namely the living beings, to enable them to realize the complete whole. So, as Krishna is complete, his creation is also complete, and we are also a complete unit. So, even a small part, they are also complete in itself. We see there are unlimited of universes are created, and even that each universes are complete in itself. If you see, we discussed about how the planetary system, they are moving around. It's completely perfectly moving around, right? Sun comes out every single day without fail, and we are discussing about, just imagine one day without sun. It's not possible, isn't it? It's the same for moon and everything, right? So that's how he whatever he creates is all complete in itself. All forms of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. So when there is not complete understanding about who is complete whole, it's not about you got a block of paneer and then you cut it out, it got finished half an hour. It's not that. When Krishna expands, he expands as good as he himself, So everything is all there itself. And we discussed earlier about in Dwarika, Lord Krishna has 16,108 wives. And when he used to do the pastimes, he used to expand into that many form at the same time. So there is complete health, right? So understanding of the complete whole is needed, and that we can get through studying scriptures, being with devotee, and taking shelter of spiritual master. Okay. And then next he says the human form of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness of the living being, and it is obtained after evolving through 8.4 million species of life in the cycle of birth and death. So there are three categories. It comes in Bhagavatam. I think we are in Canto 3. It's coming very, very soon. We are in chapter 12, isn't it? So even in chapter 12, yesterday we were discussing about how Lord Brahma creates the 5 types of ignorance, and then Chatuskumara, and then Rudra appeared. Right. When we go ahead, this will come up. So there are three or three categories actually of the living being. One is other trees who take food from the bottom, from the roots, isn't it? And that's one category. And the second category is the living being, we living being. And in living being, there are two categories. One is those who grow horizontally, like animals, like they have four-legged. They eat horizontally. So when they eat, if you see their mouth and their belly, they are on horizontal platform, right? And second category of human being is the we human beings. So we grow vertically. So our mouth and the belly are in a vertical line, right? And the third category comes about the devatas. So three category: the trees and the herbs, they take food from the bottom, from the roots. Second category is the living being. A living being in two parts. One, they grow horizontally, and then we living human being, they grow vertically. So even, and that are also more categories in between that, like an aquatic and everything. So that counts down to 8.4 billion species of life, and one of those is human form of life. And human form of life is very, 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 very rare. Can you imagine this 8.4 billion species, and one category is human life? And this human life is complete in itself, and here we can actually cut down the cycle of birth and death in human form of life. The Prabhupada says here, if in this human life of full consciousness, the living entity does not realize his completeness in relations with this complete whole, he loses the chance to realize his completeness and is again put into evolutionary cycle of law of metal nature. So what happened, we discussed about different categories. So in the form of their nourishment, but there's another discussion as well, like the consciousness in the plants and herbs are there, but they are not much developed. In a similar way, the consciousness in the animals are developed more than the trees and plants. However, the consciousness in human being are completely developed. So once you have the complete understanding about your consciousness is completely developed, and if we don't use that completeness to realize the complete whole, we are wasting our chance, and then again putting ourselves back into the cycle of birth and death. That's what it says, that if the living entity does not realize his completeness, how? In relation to the complete whole. It means if we human being do not realize our relationship with the Lord, with the God Krishna, then what we are doing is the person is losing the chance to realize his completeness, and is again put into the evolutionary cycle of by law of nature. By law of metal nature is going back into the 8.4 million species of life. So it can go like Even there are three categories. We are on the middle planet, there are higher planet and lower planet. Depending upon the way we spend our life, and by giving up this body, we can be elevated to the higher planet or lower planet. And if we are in Krishna consciousness perfectly, then we can actually go back to the spiritual world. So that's why the point is said, in this completeness of realization, when the consciousness is complete, consciousness is not complete in the animals, and also it's not complete in the trees, aquatic and other species. But in human being, the consciousness is completely complete. So that's why we should try to realize who complete whole is, understand who is and who am I, like that. Does that make sense? Okay, so from there, let's go next.
Sorry, Prabhu, can I ask?
Yes, Prabhu, we can do, no problem.
In the context of full consciousness, meaning that we exist inside full consciousness, therefore have the ability, or are ourselves in full consciousness, even though we are affected by the three gunas?
Definitely, we are affected by three gunas. So we need to utilize our full strength to understand ourself, understand the relationship, and understand the God. If that is the way, I mean, again, we will go more higher. Even in the human category, there are more categories, like, isn't it? So that discussion what we are doing is now, as of now, is the consciousness between the different species and human being. The consciousness in the plants are not developed much, even in the animal. I think we discussed an example, like uh, if you cut a tree, it gets pain, but it can't, it can't obstruct you. It says, okay, I can't do anything. It cries, it has consciousness, but it's not that much fully developed in that. But again, if you go higher and higher, take example of this, a very mundane example, but let's try to understand in this logic. In a butcher house, right, the goats, for example, the goats are aligned, right, and they are given some grass to eat or something to eat, and the one goat is taken away from there, and in front of other the goats, she is being killed, she is being chopped her head, right? But the other goats, they are still busy in eating the grass. They don't understand that next is my turn. So their consciousness is developed, but still not completely developed. And just imagine the replace those goat in with human being. If we see the five human beings are aligned and one human being is being cut down before four others, do you think the other four will engage in eating at the time? They will be in completely fearful mode, isn't it? Because they knew what going to be next to them. So the consciousness is actually completely in the human being. That's one aspect. The aspect you are asking question is, again, in the human form of life, there are different categories depending on the mode of nature we are interacting with. Some may be atheist, some may be theist, some may be doing karma kanda, some may be bhaktas and others, right? Did I answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, it does. And it does. Yes, probably. It just made me also think from your answer that two things. One, you're saying consciousness is already developed fully, but based on our everyday activities, we can make the consciousness either decrease or stay on the same fully developed. And secondly, an example you just gave about fearfulness and that. So, or do you mean that because we can sense, what not to do next, what's coming next, in that sense we're in full consciousness? I guess what I'm asking is what's the actual definition of consciousness? Is it awareness?
Yeah, you can say is one way it's awareness as well. So because
Okay.
when you are aware that who are you, or who am I, who is God, what my relationship is, it's better for you. And even if when we go higher in this Īśopaniṣad, there's a verse comes up again. We'll discuss more on that time. It completely speaks about the knowledge into a different way. The knowledge can be ignorance. The knowledge can be in mode of goodness, and that can elevate us. We'll discuss more. And again, in one verse, it describes about the human being, completely human being. It describes the human being, though they are in complete consciousness, their consciousness is fully developed. Still, if they do not use that fully developed consciousness, or in your term awareness, then what they are doing is they are putting back again into this cycle. It means what there the word the itself says, the person becomes the killer of his own soul. We'll come to that point gradually. It's in the Īśopaniṣad itself. It means what? From Bhagavad Gita, we understand that a soul cannot be killed. But the verse says the person becomes the killer of his own soul. What does that mean? That means, we just discuss briefly, but we'll discuss elaborately at that time. That means that if we do not use our developed consciousness to understand our relationship with complete whole, we are degrading ourselves to lower planet again. So from the human being, from the plant and herbs, then the animals, and then the human being. So you are on a higher platform. If you're not utilizing that properly, you are going back again to this cycle. So that is basically you're killing your own self, degrading your own self, not elevating yourself. Right? We can be the cause of our own elevation, and we can be the cause of our own degradation. So that depends on us. That how we interact with the three modes and how we act to the three modes. In the similar way, we can either develop or we can degrade. Does that make sense, Prabhu? We'll discuss it more.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Prabhu. Well, we have every chance of devolving or making use and evolving. Yes, no, thank you. Beautiful. Thank you, Prabhu. Very quick question, another question. I don't mean to be funny or humorous in that sense, even though it might sound it. You said the human beings are vertically upright and growing upright, and the birds and animals, because of their belly and mouths, they are growing horizontally. Then which way is the devtas growing? Sidewards, outward, inward?
No, delta growth in horizontal as well. Sorry, vertical, not vertical, as human beings.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Prabhu.
But their categories are a bit different. That's why that's. We'll discuss it more in our Bhagavatam session. It's in chapter 12 itself. So it's coming very soon.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so let's go to next session. Thanks for asking question. I think I don't want to just go on speaking myself and then you all just listening. It's good to be a bit more interactive, and then we discuss more thing.
Actually, yeah, that might be a good idea, because at the end, sometimes you can forget some questions related to previous texts. So maybe after each text or every two texts, maybe. Leave that to you.
Certainly, that's fine. Yeah. So let's go to the next one. Because we do not know that there is a complete arrangement in the nature for our maintenance, we make effort to utilize the resources of nature to create a so-called complete life of sense enjoyment. So basically, two things. One is maintenance and one is sense enjoyment. Right? It's there's a term, need and desire. Two different things, isn't it? What I need and what I desire. I certainly desire a mansion, but my need is just two bedroom hall, right? So that desire and need, they're two different things. That's why it says, because we do not know that there is a complete arrangement in nature for our maintenance, we make effort to utilize the resources of nature to create a so-called complete life of sense enjoyment. Why it is said so-called? Because this sense enjoyment or life of sense enjoyment is actually degrading us, right? So let's see what next it says. Because the living entity cannot enjoy the life of senses without being dovetailed with the complete whole. The misleading life of sense enjoyment is illusion. So Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami explains this in the three terms. He explains this theory about one says the enjoyment that we get in this material world, or the pleasure that we get in this material world, or the pleasure that we get from sense enjoyment. That's one stage. That's called as Bhava Ananda. The Ananda or the bliss or enjoyment, it's not bliss actually, it's a pleasure that we get from material world. And then second term he uses is Brahmananda, the pleasure of merging into impersonal Brahman. And third term he uses is what the term Prema Ananda, the pleasure Ananda, the pleasure that we get by prema, or with prema, with love for the Lord, for Krishna. So three things he uses there. And what he explains there, that the pleasure that we get from the Premananda, or the path of spirituality, path of bhakti, path of Krishna consciousness, it's an ocean. It's an ocean. And when we compare that with the impersonal Brahman, pleasure of Brahmananda, pleasure of merging into impersonal Brahman, it's compared to the, like, a calf, the footprint of a calf, and just imagine water in the footprint of a calf. It's kind of a small bowl, isn't it? So a vast ocean, how can I compare with just a footprint of a calf? It's incomparable, isn't it? The pleasure we get in the path of Krishna consciousness, right? And then again he says that the pleasure of this, the Brahmananda, compared with material world, it's just a drop. So the pleasure what we think we get from sense enjoyment is a drop as compared to the pleasure that we can get by path of Krishna consciousness in the ocean, right? So that's why he says, this is illusion, because you can think your own self, like if our acharyas are saying that the bliss we get in Krishna consciousness is an ocean, and the pleasure which we are seeking for in sense enjoyment is a drop. So we have our consciousness fully developed. We can think of, well, which is good, which is bad, or which is more, isn't it? It's very clear options to choose, right? Multiple choice questions, which is more pleasurable, one drop or ocean? So isn't it? That's clear, it is. So then it says the hand of a body is complete. Prabhupada explains how the enjoyment of a complete and material world is. He says here, the hand of a body is a complete unit only as long as it is attached to the complete body. When the hand is severed from the body, it may appear like a hand, but actually it actually has none of the potencies of a hand. So hand, when it's attached, it's something, it can work something, but just imagine it's being chopped off. It's lying, it's hand, you can say it's a hand, but it cannot do anything by its own. That's Prabhupada gives example. Similarly, the living entities are part and parcel of the complete whole. And if they are severed from the complete whole, the illusory representation of the completeness cannot be fully satisfy him. So we are a part and parcel of Krishna. If we are not connected with Krishna, it means we are actually, hand is apart. So the point is, be a part, not apart. So be a space part. So be a part of Lord. Don't be apart. Don't go away from the Lord. So be connected. Be connected. Right. Prabhupada gives an example earlier he says, he gives an example of a rich man and his child. So once what happened is, the child, there are two stories Prabhupada shares. Let's try to do one thing. One he says is, in a huge gathering, the child got lost. a small child, maybe 5 6 years, he got lost, and he's crying for his parents. But someone comes up and says, okay, you are crying, it looks like you're hungry, and he gave him some food to eat. So what happens? There's a first person, he gave something to eat, and then second person comes up, he says, okay, oh, you don't have better clothes, let me give you some and the night is gonna cold, let me give you some blanket, and he gave some blanket to the person. And third person comes up and he says, oh, I know you, so I'll take you back to your house. So three person, if you think the first person, does it right or wrong by giving him some food? What do you think? Right? At least he had done something good to the child, isn't it? Second person also, he did something good because he gives him a blanket to wear on to prevent from the cold. But the third person, what he did is he took him back to his house, and now the child has to no worry about blanket, neither about the food. He got everything because now he is back at his home. So in the similar way, if we are connected with Krishna, Krishna is providing us everything. Anyway, Krishna providing us everything. Even if we are not connected, Krishna providing us everything. That should be our understanding. And just imagine, once we connect with Krishna, so what not Krishna can provide us? Even if you want to have material desires, Krishna is completely fulfilling the desire as well. That's why it says the living entity are a part and parcel of the complete whole, and if they are shivered from the complete whole, the illusory potency or representation of completeness cannot fully satisfy them. The child, if it is not back to home, he is still suffering. Someone has given him some food, but what happens after 3 hours? He again hungry, right? He's again hungry. So it cannot be satisfied completely. But once the child is back at home, he gets everything. Makes sense? Let's see the last paragraph. The completeness of human life can be realized only when one engages in the service of the complete whole. This is a very important point, isn't it? How can we realize that we are complete? Right? How can we realize what is our real duty is? How can we realize who am I? The only way is to engage in the service of the complete whole. Right? In the sense, Prabhupada gives an example as well, the same context we are discussing. So a rich man, his grown-up child, he says, I don't want your money at all. I'll go away from home, and I will start earning. Right? And just imagine, he had everything at his home. He just gave up everything, and now he's struggling. He's struggling to find a job. He's struggling because he has got everything. He was living a life of sophisticated life, but now he has given up everything, and now he is just suffering like anything. So is that a good idea? You have everything, you can cooperatively live with your family and enjoy everything, but now you're going away. So unless and until we engage in the service of the Lord or the complete whole, then only we can realize what our completeness of human life is. Right? What are the need of human life, and how can actually we be always happy? How can we realize that the ocean of bliss is waiting for us? This bliss or this pleasure what we are getting, even in the, I think I missed one part when we're discussing about these three stages of pleasure. In the material world, the pleasure is not continuous. We get some pleasure and then we stop, and then we get some a bit fraction of pleasure and then we stop. Like let's say example of eating gulab jamun. If you like gulab jamun, how much gulab jamun can you eat at one go? 5, 10, 20, 25. After that, what? You say stop. I can't eat anymore. The gulab jamun is same. The person is same. He likes to eat gulab jamun, but now he says, I can't eat anymore. Isn't it? It means the pleasure is not ongoing. Pleasure is finished. He say, no, maybe I'll eat tomorrow or maybe a day after, but not now. And if you're health conscious, you say, okay, today I ate 25 gulab jamun, for 5 more days, no more sweets, at least, isn't it? So the pleasure is not complete here, but the pleasure what we get in the spiritual consciousness with bhakti, that goes on and on and on and on. It never stops. Just one example for that. Every single day we chant the holy name. Have we ever thought we have got fed up with chanting the holy name? No. Every single day we chant and it just goes on, isn't it? Right. So that's the bliss of Krishna. That's a small fractional part of Krishna consciousness. And just imagine if we engage ourselves completely, how much bliss is waiting for us. So, and continuing here, all services in this world, whether social, political, communal, international, or even interplanetary, will remain incomplete until they are deployed with the complete whole. So when everything is deployed with a complete whole, the parts, the attached parts and parcel also become complete in themselves. Right? So to become ourselves, to make ourselves complete, or the completeness of human life, we'll have to attach ourselves with Krishna. With the as of now, we can say we need to attach ourselves with complete whole, and the whose complete whole will be revealed later on, right? So this is the way we can attach ourselves with Krishna, and in different services, uh, unless and until our day-to-day activities we don't connect with Krishna or the complete whole, this will remain as it is for lifelong, and 8.4 million spaces life will be revolving around again and again. So this is a very, very best opportunity for us to to spend the time with Krishna's pastimes, with Krishna's devotee, and take our life to the next destination, the spiritual world. Right? Anyone have any quick questions or comments before we move ahead? Or we might have to stop today before moving ahead, because it's yes, Mataji. You're on mute. I can't hear you if you're speaking, Mataji. Yeah, yeah,
Now, Prabhu,
yeah. I can see. You can hear you now.
out of our discussion today, in my thinking, we have the art of reason, and that separates us from all other living entities, all animals, all the other creatures of your world, that separates us, because we have the art of reason to reason who we are, why we're here, why we came, where am I going, what am I doing. Is that the analogy that is given? That's what they're saying, that we can realize we are part of God.
Yeah, absolutely.
From animals, and when we realize that, then we become complete, because we realize we are a part of Krishna.
Yeah.
Or yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Definitely. That's why it says the line says for human being is athato brahma jigyasa. The human life is meant for understanding our real position, understanding about why we are here, why am I suffering, how can I get away from this suffering, how can I get a permanent solution to these temporary problems, right?
And in what you were saying about pleasure, how we seek pleasure, the pleasures we seek are fractional, yet and Krishna's pleasure is whole, and because it's whole, it's no fractional, so we'll always feel pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you.
It goes
Thank
on
you.
and on. It's ananda, ananda, ananda goes on. So, but our material world pleasure is kind of, it's called as bhoga tyaga, two words being used. So bhoga means pleasure, and then tyaga is give up. Like just for example, we work for whole 5 days, 9 to 6, to get some pleasure on the weekends, right? Okay, let's go out for some fun in the weekend and save money for a trip in after six months to go out somewhere, right? So hard struggle, 6 months, save some money and go out for the pleasure, and then what? Oh, we have run out of my money. come back again to my back home, right? So so it's basically it's like that. We can't enjoy continuously. We can go out for a pleasure, but we have to come back again and start working again to get some money, and then uh, save money, then again go for some plan, and then again come back, earn money, again go. So it's on and on and on and on, right? On and off, on off, on off. Like that's why it's bhoga and tyaga. So sometimes we do pleasure and then we restrict ourselves. Okay, I ate 25 gulab jamun today. For 5 more days, no more sweets. It's tyaga. I've given up sweets now for a week. When Sunday comes, I'll go and have some more sweets. Right.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. That was amazing. Thank you.
Prabhu,
Yes, Prabhu.
you know, I was just in thought as you were explaining all this. In one sense, I was asking why Krishna, out of his mercy, gave us all these senses to enjoy and become addicted to that illusion. But then on the other hand, I realize he's given us all these limitations where we become full and unsatisfied. So would that be just to bring us on the path of self-realization? Is that why that duality is there?
Yes, that's why Krishna has given us everything. So there are 4 things, like the 4 purusartha: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So Krishna actually, he is not biased. So he is just trying to make sure that we come to him by our own will, right? It's not like that to putting a gun on someone and say, okay, say me I love you. Right? It's not that, right? Krishna is so if you put a gun to someone, he or she may say, okay, I love you now. At least I'm saving my life now, right? But the point is, Krishna don't want that. Krishna don't want us to be forcefully love him. Krishna wants that we realize that there's a frustration in this material world. We should realize that actually, no, I want a bike now. Like, it's a small example. Like, say someone says, I am walking. If I could have a bike, I could reach something very quicker. And as he got a bike, then he says, okay, I think if I could have motorbike, I could reach earlier. Then he has a motorbike. He says, I could have car, I could go more faster. When he's a car, he thinks, can I have my plane? So can you see this material world? The desire of us is going on and on and on. Person was walking earlier, he has not thought about flight, but now he's thinking about flight because he got one step ahead. So the desire, as what we get, that the thing, as soon as we get it, the things become of no use of us. We have some more desire. Right? That's material desire. And Krishna don't want us that we are completely trying to enjoy this world, and at the same time we Krishna says, okay, come back to home. It's not. Even there's another stories are there. We'll discuss other stories next time. That's the thing. That's the whole metal world is. So we need to, if we understand well that the world is completely full of frustration, and then we take the next step: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So dharma, people generally do dharma to to uh, to get some artha. Artha is basically to get in some money or some other things, opulences. And then when they get artha, they engage into kama, sense enjoyment, and then it goes on. As they do sense enjoyment, they think, okay, I did sense enjoyment because I did some dharma, so let me perform it again. I'll get more artha, I'll engage more self here. But eventually one time they think that this cycle is going on. Dharma, artha, kama is going on and on. I'm never satisfied. And as soon as they think that I'm not satisfied, they think of 4th part, liberation. And there they start thinking of the maybe Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, depending upon their understanding and depending upon their association with each other, they grow ahead. That's why Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Krishna completely clearly says in Bhagavad Gita that Vasudevam Sarvamiti, understanding that I am the one, or understanding Krishna, is very rare. And it happens like Bahunam, we take many lifetimes, many lifetimes, millions of lifetimes. Jamanam the Gyanavan, by the knowledge, then we acquire that, okay, Krishna is actually supreme. So that's very rare. Just imagine we are crossing this material essence and going to spiritual world. It must be rare. It's not so easy, isn't it?
Prabhu.
Okay. If you have any questions, we can discuss next week then. I will stop there, and I think kids are here to start chanting. Okay. So
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you,
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
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 Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.